Hola, ¿qué tal? Muy buenas tardes.
Hello, good evening. Management of entity data, representatives of diplomatic delegations, trustees of the foundation, members of the jury, dear friends. It is a pleasure to be able to hold this 22nd edition of the Global Awards of Entity Data to Technological Entrepreneurship with a social impact. Thank you very much for joining us today to celebrate talent, to celebrate innovation, and to celebrate entrepreneurs. And thank you very much for joining us, to those of you who have connected to this ceremony through streaming from Argentina, Austria, Belgium, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Ecuador, Spain, the Netherlands, Italy, Mexico, Peru, Portugal, Romania, and the UK.
At the 22nd eAwards. En esta edición compiten por el...
In this edition, winners from 15 countries in Europe and Latin America are competing for this global award. And when we present their projects, you will see that they are enterprising projects to do with the environment, healthcare, infrastructure, so from many, many industries. But there is something at the heart of these projects, something that they have in common, because these are projects that use technology to make it possible for all of us to have a better life, to achieve a more fair society. And this is precisely at the heart of the Entity Data Foundation. And this goal would not be possible without the support of the company behind us. For that reason, I want to invite a role model for all of us. He joined as number one in the Spanish state attorney's office. He was president of Peugeot, Talbot, Spain, and UBS, and he was the founding member. He was a founding member of a very important company that helped us fight the economic crisis of 2008. And nowadays, he's president of the board of Entity Data. Mr. Serra, you have the floor. Whenever I come up, I stand in a podium, I feel I'm being questioned by the police. Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Welcome, President of the Foundation. Welcome to the founding member of Everest. And welcome to all of you. As the OC said, this is the 22nd Global Award of the Entity Data Foundation. And she was very eloquent because these are awards for technology, but not just any type of technology, a technology with a social impact. And that was the purpose when we created the foundation, to harness the advantages of technology to promote a better society, a fairer society. And to some extent, with certain difficulties, and now with the difficulties inherent in the war on the Ukraine and the Arab-Israeli conflict, and I want to express my sympathies for the Ukraine and Israel. So with those difficulties, we're still navigating through this technological revolution, which, in my opinion, has only just started, because what is coming is going to entail many more changes than what has happened so far. And I would just like to wish you a very warm welcome to one and all, those of you physically present with us and those of you who are following the meeting through streaming. And I want to give the floor to the chairman of the Entity Data Foundation. Mr. Dagnino, you have the floor. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I would like to introduce to you the advances of the first year of my stint as president of Entity Data Foundation. As Eduardo said, for me, the main purpose, the main goal of the foundation is to place technology at the service of society. And it is within that context that we have developed all our activities this year. Along those lines, what I have changed is that I have tried to reduce the number of activities of the foundation and concentrate on three key pillars so that we could ensure that we would have a real impact across those three areas. And that is related to the three eAwards we're going to be presenting today. And these awards are meant for people who use technology to generate a positive impact in society. The second program is a program of digital education for adults who do not have a technological background in order to improve their employability. And the third project that we have concentrated on is the project of the International Technology Olympics for children and adolescents. The idea is for them not to be just technology consumers, but to also become producers of technology. Please allow me to briefly mention what we have done in each of these three sections, in each of these three pillars. As regards the eAwards, 15 countries participated, which have submitted their candidacy. Almost 2,000 startups submitted a candidacy. And each country chose one winner. And it was a very rigorous process. So we have 15 runners-up, or 15 candidates, who have gone through a very severe screening, a very rigorous screening process. And they are the 15 runner-ups that have joined us today and whose projects will be presented very shortly. And they will have to be very succinct because each of them will have 1 minute to present their respective projects. I would like to ask the runners-up to stand up so that we can give them a round of applause.
De los 15,
Of the 15, one will pocket 100,000 euros. And I just want to repeat what I already said to them. All of them are already winners. And this is not just a cliche. I'm just saying this because I know what I'm talking about. One of the things I did as soon as I took office was to find out what the companies that had won this award, what they were doing now, what were they working on, and what contributions they had received from this competition. And surprisingly, money was not in the first position. The most important thing that everybody mentioned, and I'm talking about the last 15 years, was the credibility that having participated in this process gave them. Having received this award positioned them on an entirely different level. And number two, networking. That is, the relationships they managed to forge. Over this week, we introduced them to potential investors, commercial attachés, investment funds, and this opened up a whole world to them. And between them, they exchange ideas. And so the networking is a second element. So it's, first of all, credibility, number two, networking, and number three, mentoring. And as far as mentoring is concerned, I have to thank the generosity of the executives of Entity Data who gave their time for free to mentor the men and women who have been shortlisted for this event. So credibility, networking, and mentoring. And number three, and the last element, of course, last but not least, is 100,000 euros, which never come amiss. But very importantly, of the 15 runners-up, well, of the 15 winners we've had so far, a significant part of them are still in their original company, because in startups, only 1 in 10 survive after 10 years. But of the 15 winners, 14 are still in business. And that is exceptional. And I think that is due to the sheer talent of participants, but also to the rigorous screening system that we use at the level of each country. And that we also have here, where we have a jury made up of 9 people from 9 different countries who are in charge of choosing the winner. And we also had the support of 300 volunteers from Entity Data and 161 external volunteers. During this first year, we also made progress in our internationalization process, because the foundation started off as a Spanish foundation with whose purpose was to give back to society a part of the profits that the company made since it was founded. And as a result, trust was created, made up by 11 very prestigious Spanish executives, plus a Peruvian executive and a Japanese one. And so in this year, we decided to add to our board of trustees representatives from Colombia, Brazil, Mexico, the UK, Peru, Argentina, Chile, Germany, and Portugal. And as I said a little while ago, the jury used to be entirely Spanish, but for the first time we have added representatives from Germany, Belgium, Spain, Italy, Japan, Portugal, Latin America, the UK, and the United States. And we have also increased the number of countries participating in our program. So we are in a clear internationalization process of the Entity Data Foundation, which is the mandate I received when I took office. All of that has to do with the eAwards. And now briefly, I'm not going to run on, don't worry. As regards our digital talent school, we have launched a pilot to train data analysts. There were 300 applicants for that Python pilot program, and we shortlisted 90. They come from Argentina, Chile, Colombia, Spain, Mexico, etc. And those candidates received 450 hours of tuition, and all 90 of them completed the course. Of the 90 students, 82 completed the course, which is quite impressive for an online and free of charge course. And even if we haven't yet finished talking to them, we know that most of them have found or are in the process of finding new job opportunities. In fact, 90% of those who have answered the survey are saying that they want to keep on with the digital training. These are people that didn't have any previous digital education. That is as regards our digital talent school, which we want to escalate on the basis of what we have learned this year from the pilot program. And so the first one is the eAwards, the second one is the digital education talent, and the third element is our technology Olympics. We've had a program with 4,000 participants from 10 different countries. 1,500 boys and girls showed their interest in strengthening their critical judgment and their capacity to detect and resolve problems through technology. For that, the program, has developed an intuitive programming system called Scratch. More about it in a minute. And so participants have proposed the design of video games to teach their grandparents to use Wi-Fi, or to teach their friends the best way to save energy and protect the environment. There's a wide variety of different projects, and the impact of this program has been such that we have received requests from schools to keep increasing the contents that may allow participants to develop other programming languages. And we're also going to extend the number of participating countries. We have already started a pilot program in Japan so that they can join in the next edition. I think that these Olympics have helped us achieve our goal to make technology more available to children, but not just as consumers of technology, but also as producers of technology. In addition, this paradigm shift is going to allow them to strengthen their self-esteem, as you will be able to see in this video that we're going to show, which is a very short video, only 2 minutes long. So shall we just play the video, please? Thank you.
The award is because of a video game which was created after receiving inspiration from her teacher. So this is a child in the playground and they trip. So you can either help or continue playing. So playing is easy. You can play or win, but in real life, not everybody makes the right decision. Caroline has a message. Persons with disabilities are the same as anybody else. We need to help. Her robotics teacher, Carmen, has been absolutely inspirational. It's exceptional to see in video games persons with disabilities, so it's good, it's an innovation. Caroline is 8 years old and she is empathetic. She won. Well, I have to say, says her mom, she is very mature. She steps into other people's shoes. She sees it, and she herself was bullied. Yes, I was bullied. They poked fun at me, but I spoke with one of our teachers, and that's over. So this is a message that has been stellar. Over 3,500 participants. Carolina, congratulations. Oh, I saw the other projects and I thought, oh, I'm not going to win. So when I did win, I was so happy. Whenever her video game comes true, it will be a winning day for all of us. Thank you in many different languages. Thank you in different languages. Thank you. I never thought I would achieve this when I began. I had no inkling as to what Scratch was, and I'm so happy. My goodness, how talented, just 8 years old. 1,500 children, as we just heard from the president, President Dañino. We all know that he was Prime Minister of Peru. He was furthermore Ambassador of Peru in Washington, and he was Vice President and Legal Counsel of the World Bank. And at this point, he is on the board of very important North American and Peruvian companies. I have to say it was exciting when we heard him talk about the social impact that is sought by the foundation. This is what we saw in the video, how education guarantees a better future. And that also is part of the beating heart of this foundation and awards, investing in new generations, in their education, to empower them and to guarantee exactly that, that the path ahead be a better path. And as Eduardo Serra said, this is something that is returned to society. And this is what our protagonists have done today. They are the entrepreneurs and they are the finalists of the Global eAwards. They are the winners, as we said before, absolute winners of the respective awards in their country. So, independently of whatever may happen today, I need to say congratulations to all of you for your achievements so far. And also congratulations for the additional activities that await. And thank you as a citizen, as a woman, as a citizen in society, because I am sure that shortly we will be able to proudly observe how your companies, in fact, are contributing to a better world. They're contributing for sure that our lives, our daily lives, be much, much better. So congratulations to all. And without further ado, I am going to call you now. I'm going to ask you for a 1-minute pitch, each one of you. I know this is difficult, just 1 minute, but they are so talented that I'm sure it's going to be easy. So please join me up here in alphabetical order in Spanish. We begin then with Argentina.
The CEO of GSense Biotech, and we are revolutionizing healthcare by delivering diagnostics at the speed of life. Now imagine for a second that you get diagnosed with a chronic disease, and you know that you're going to spend 30% of the rest of your life in a lab getting tested. We're changing that, and we're starting by giving patients with kidney disease the chance to get all their tests done from home with this device. However, our cutting-edge sensor technology allows us to do much more. We can detect infectious diseases, and we can even test for female infertility. So I invite you to join us in our mission to change 800 million lives worldwide by delivering diagnostics at the speed of life. Thank you.
Hello everyone and good evening. Thank you very much for being here today and to tell you about our invention, the road energy production system. So I guess the problem is clear right now. Our electricity demand is growing faster than the recovery of green energy. And our green energy converters, which are obviously responsible for green energy, failure in permissions, resources, and our implementation areas. So it's necessary that we also focus on innovation that allows us to win this global fight against fossil fuels. So we invented a mechanism that allows us to transform streets into a source of green energy, because our road energy production systems are some plates we integrate into the ground, and if cars or trucks drive over it, we generate electricity. It's that much electricity that the system amortizes energetically and also economically in a short period of time. So we will not only change the view of our currently energy production, we will also make an important contribution to our climate crisis. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. I would like you to think about the last time you connected to the internet or you used your phone. Maybe you have a little message that says, this conversation is scripted end-to-end on WhatsApp, or you have a one-time password that you receive on your phone to connect to your account. Well, you don't want anybody to be able to predict this information, because if they can predict it, they can read your data. It's not only about smartphones, it's also about cars and the security of cars. You must know that there are emerging technologies, such as quantum computers, that can be able to decrypt all this information that is stored somewhere and access your data and your information. So it is extremely important to have quantum technology, the service to generate random keys, random passwords that can really not be predicted. And our mission is to make your information secure, everyone's information secure, everything secure for 30+ billion devices. Thank you very much. Muchas gracias.
Good evening. My name is Carolina, and I'm the InSitu founder. InSitu is a healthcare technology-based startup that uses cell therapy to develop innovative approaches to heal human tissues. Our first product is a 3D biodressing, where we use stem cells stored in cell banks. In our lab, we grow the cells that will be bioprinted to produce our biodressings. Our biodressings have focus on the treatment of chronic wounds and severe burns. In Brazil, we have more than 5 million patients waiting for our solution. And our goal is to improve the quality of life of our patients. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Gonzalo, founder of Move on Air. Transport sector impacting 30% of the climate change. We need electric truck, but are so expensive, 4 times more expensive than a combustion truck. Another option is hydrogen truck, but 8 times more expensive. And what will happen with the million of trucks that today exist? We have 300 million in the world. That is a really big problem. We have to change the technology. For that reason, we made Move on Air ePower. We convert any truck, any model, any year in hybrid truck. With our kit, we help the truck with electric motor. We have lithium battery. When the truck takes the brake, we regenerate the energy, and we can use it in any moment. We improve the fuel consumption, we extend the useful life, we improve the driver behavior, and we reduce the pollution in the transport. Thank you so much.
Breast cancer has a survival rate above 90% when diagnosed early, and yet it is the leading cause of death by cancer in women. And this high mortality rate is mostly due to access barriers between women and diagnostic exams, due to them being very costly and requiring very complex infrastructure and specialized personnel. Of course, they're also extremely painful. And that is where Soy Julieta comes in. We have developed a device that not only is it portable, but it is also painless and quick and easy to access for women. Through this device, we are able to remove all access barriers for women and truly contribute to reducing the mortality of breast cancer detection, or of breast cancer through early detection. Soy Julieta is capable of changing the world through access and through women and of course, through technology. My name is Valentina Agudelo. I'm the CEO of Soy Julieta.
Hola, soy Carlos Abad, CEO de Boy Technology. Hemos identificado un gran problema.
I come from Ecuador, and we've identified a problem. In the world, there's 1 billion persons with some kind of a disability, according to the World Bank, and the first wheelchair dates back to before 1600. So in over 450 years, there's been only 2 developments. So our first device is like science fiction. It is a wheelchair controlled by the mind. We gather information from the brain with our diadem, and we introduce these signals onto the control devices and levers. The major difference is that we do not use huge computers to achieve the objective, and we do not implant circuits in the brain. So the system is much more accessible and, of course, much more affordable.
And I have been in construction my whole life. Since I was a kid, I saw my brother and father, they were builders, and I saw their problems to be on time, on budget, and with the biggest construction problem, concrete waste. Check to Build automates construction inspection thanks to our artificial intelligence web platform. We help general contractors to save at least $150,000 per year per project, to change the timing of their inspections from days or weeks to a couple of minutes. And we save to the world up to 96 tons of CO2 emissions every year in every project. We have passion for the sector that builds our homes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Peter van Dam, the inventor of ECG Excellence. Everybody of you has a heart, and to measure the electrical activity of this heart and to know what is going on in the heart, we have the ECG. The ECG is, however, not very often correct, so what we want to do is to improve the quality of this diagnostic so it becomes available to many more people than just the experts. We just use the standard available 12-lead ECG, standard clinical workflow, but we just are able to say, your ECG is going to deviate, you have to see a cardiologist, or you have to some other workup. The way it works is you just record an ECG somewhere in the field, so not necessarily a hospital, you send the data and you get a report back with okay or not okay. And this concept is going to be tried now also in a Jordan refugee camp. The primary care costs can really reduce by 35%. And it detects really all heart infarcts, which at the moment is about 70%. We're going to predict that AF is going to occur, all these kind of genetical heart diseases we can monitor. Thank you for your attention.
Hi everyone, it's a great pleasure to share with you our solution to fight anemia. 1 in 4 people suffers from anemia, probably even someone close to you. The problem is that anemia is often underdiagnosed and untreated. At Fidelio Med, we are developing digital diagnostic solutions to provide quick diagnosis and effective management of anemia and iron deficiency in primary care. Our secret sauce is to offer a well-integrated solution in terms of usability, affordability, and diagnostic value for doctors and pharmacists. Now we are addressing anemia. Tomorrow we will address other diseases that need to be treated at the primary care level. We hope we can count on you, and on your support today and tomorrow. We are helping doctors heal people worldwide.
Hello, good evening. I'm Gabriela Duran, and I am a survivor of breast cancer. Today I have lymphedema. Lymphedema is a condition as a side effect of breast cancer. Our proposal is an artificial lymph vessel which is very successful in achieving recirculation of lymph. So there's nothing similar on the market because current treatments are only palliative, not curative. The team is made up by biomedical engineers, industrial designers, and physicians and engineers. We don't just want to beat lymphedema, we also want to improve the quality of life of everybody who suffers from this condition. Unfortunately, the WHO says that there's over 300 million people worldwide who suffer from this disease.
Buenas noches con todos.
Hello, everybody. In Latin America, there's a very serious problem, which is that of road accidents. Latin American countries have a huge rate of road accidents, and we focus on the accidents where trucks are involved. We have developed an assistant that is based on voice alerts, and it is used in trucks and helps drivers in different activities. And with this, we managed to reduce road accidents by up to 90%, and we have also installed 102 units in trucks in Peru. We work as a team with my partner, Bruno. We have been working together for 13 years, and we have won a very prestigious Swiss award. And we're also benefiting from the support of the Peruvian government for our endeavors. Thank you. Hello, good evening, everybody.
From Portugal, and we want to address the global challenges posed by counterfeiting. To do that, our proposal wants to develop smart labels. Our smart labels will allow not only to trace, to track, and to ensure authenticity, but they also allow and empower the end users to do it effortless using their smartphone.
Okay, the feature that distinguishes our smart photonic labels from the direct competition is the possibility to print the label in any surface or any substrate, the possibility to use natural-based inks, and of course to make the reading of the label using a smartphone. But more important than that is that our label is unclonable, that is, cannot be copied. Okay, thank you very much.
Good evening, I'm Jim Fell, CEO at Credit Canary. We offer an early warning system that allows consumer credit lenders to identify, engage and cure borrowers at risk of missing future credit payments. Now here's the thing, the world is drowning with debt. Households have debt coming out their ears. And very much there's three key problems that we're solving. Number one, banks are reactive, they're not proactive. Two, origination data that's used to make decisions isn't predictive. And number three, there's a massive social cost for problem debt. It tears families apart. Credit Canary offers a proactive credit monitoring solution. We combine a series of data sets to provide a full financial footprint for each customer, identifying scenarios at risk and engaging customers proactively. And from that, we're seeing some amazing uplifts. From an early trial, we've been able to help customers by optimizing their payment dates. And not only have we been able to deliver better customer outcomes, but we've been able to drive greater lending performance as well. Thank you very much for your time. I've been Jim Fell.
Hello, my name is Gabriel Barta. I'm CEO at Rongo Design, the place where we design and grow sustainable materials for construction industry. Today, our relationship with the natural ecosystem are totally compromised as a result of traditional manufacturing processes that keep causing negative impact on Earth and use a lot of natural resources, and at the end of their life cycle, they are totally unrecyclable. The impact of our technology is huge if we take in consideration the huge quantity of waste generated by human daily activities, by agriculture, and by other industry. Do you have a solution? The solution is represented by those beautiful, tiny, and white fibers called mycelium. That fibers at Rongo are used as a natural binder mixed with waste, and at the end they deliver a new bio-based material with huge thermal acoustic properties, proper for application like construction industry, design, and packaging. Thank you.
Thank you, Romania. Thank you to all of you. Muchas gracias. Enhorabuena a todos.
Congratulations to everybody. Also, congratulations to our friend from Ecuador who's following the session through streaming. He has not been able to come because he's down with COVID. He's not been able to travel. You will understand after what we have seen how difficult our jury's job was to choose one winner. But unfortunately today, well, we will see that there has been just one winner. And I'm sure that all the projects that we have heard about are going to have a huge impact on society. But to talk about the society of knowledge, we have a keynote speaker today. He's a journalist, he's a writer, recognized by the prestigious magazine Foreign Policy as one of the most influential Latin American intellectuals. He's a columnist of newspapers like the Miami Herald. He is a newscaster, and he is somebody that we should always read. He's written 8 bestsellers on politics, innovation, the economy, etc. He has received a huge amount of accolades. He has won the Pulitzer Prize for his research on the Iran-Contra scandal. He has received an award from El País newspaper. He has received an award from Columbia University, and that is just a short list of his many awards. I'm sure you already know who I am talking about. We have Andres Oppenheimer with us. Thank you. Thank you very much, but this is very bad news because I thought I was going to speak after the winner was announced. This is like when somebody is invited to speak before a dinner. Everybody is waiting for dinner, and then you stand between them and their food. So thank you very much to everybody. Eduardo, thank you to the authorities. Thank you very much for joining us today. And thank you for inviting me to share a few ideas on this important time we are living through in the world. Such a crazy time we're living through, and I'm not saying this because Argentina is going through a very difficult time. Argentina is my home country, but everybody, the whole world is really as mad as a hatter. But I will tell you about some of the things that I have learned by interviewing people. I have written 12 books on innovation, and I have interviewed some of the leading innovators in the world: Bill Gates, Richard Branson, all of the Latin American unicorns. And in the last 3 years, I've also had a weekly section in my program on CNN, which is called the Innovator of the Week, where I interview from the wonderful and big unicorns to young people like you who are starting off. And my favorite interviewees are social innovators. I deeply admire them. And what have I learned in so many years? I must have conducted over 1,000 interviews with all of these people. There's many things that really caught my attention. One of the things that struck me the most was that all of them, like you, have detected a problem and found an opportunity. Last week, or 2 Sundays ago, I invited to this segment the Innovator of the Week, David Perez, a Colombian guy who founded Nubank in Brazil. It's a virtual bank which already has 85 million customers and is valued at $40 billion US. And how did he start? Well, he was a young man, a young Colombian man. He was visiting Brazil. He went to a bank to open an account, and he couldn't because there was so much red tape involved that he just gave up. So he said, well, wow, there's something interesting here. This difficulty could be turned into an opportunity. So to make a long story short, he created his own bank, which is now huge. And like him, many entrepreneurs detected a problem like you. They detected a problem and tried to find a solution. And the interesting thing is that in many cases, those who succeeded were not experts. This youngster, David Perez, was not Brazilian or a banker or a computer programmer, and he created one of the biggest digital banks in the world. So sometimes you see things more clearly from the outside than when you're inside. Another thing, well, Richard Branson did the same. Some of you, well, may know this. He was 33 years of age. He had founded a record company, a very successful company. He was a hippie. Lots of hippies went to his record shop to buy records, and an entrepreneur, called him to ask him whether he wanted to buy an airline that had gone bankrupt. This was Friday afternoon, and he said, if he's calling me, a record seller, it's because he has called many other people before, and they all refused. So he said, okay, let's wait until Monday. I need to think it over. And then he phoned this airline, and the line was busy. He phoned again, the line was busy again, and the line was also busy. And then half an hour later, he said, it's that the company is either very poorly managed because nobody picks up the phone, or it has so much work that the employees can't even pick up the phone. And he bought the company without knowing the first thing about aviation. So what struck me was that most innovators coincide in one thing. Timing is key for them. It's like self-evident, but timing is crucial for any innovation, for any successful innovation. Nowadays, it's not the biggest company that eats up the smaller one. It's the fastest one that eats up the slowest one. And this happens for all kinds of innovations. I'm sure that, the joke of the tiger and the little monkeys. Do you know the joke? Well, there were 2 monkeys in the jungle eating peanuts, or whatever monkeys eat, and they suddenly heard a noise amongst the trees, and then the tiger came close to them. The tiger was ready to swoop down on them. And then one of the monkeys was going to jump away, but he looked at the other one and saw that the other monkey was putting on his shoes and tying the shoelaces. And the monkey that was about to run off said, "What are you doing? The tiger is coming. The tiger is going to eat us up." And the sitting monkey said, "No, the tiger will reach us and will eat you, because I will run faster than you." So timing is essential. You need to be like that monkey that puts on his shoes.
Something else which calls my attention, another instance, but I'm going to forge on ahead because there's so many cases that I could share. Something else which I thought was interesting is persons who innovate from Latin America. What really got them going, what really encouraged them, what really turned them into global innovators was the need that is a fact because you come from a small market. There's Globants, they've got 25,000 employees already in 18 countries. And Martin told me that there's no option in Latin America. All you can do is grow because the markets are so tiny that they either grow and penetrate other markets or there's nothing doing for them. That is why there are so very many Latin American unicorns who are really so successful in global terms. Luis Fonan from Guatemala, he established Duolingo to learn languages, a platform, I think it's the largest in the world, from Guatemala. And he says, if I'd stayed back home in Guatemala, there's nothing for me to do in Guatemala. So many innovators come from tiny, tiny markets, but they think really big. And then something else, which I also found striking, is that very many innovators, the ones I deal with, and that's the Latin American ones, are social innovators, as you are yourselves. They want to make the world a better place. They want to find solutions to problems that are social in nature. One of my favorites, and I talk about this case in my most recent book, is Adi Baitler from Uruguay. Nilus is his company. He opened it up in Argentina. As it turns out, farmers in Argentina throw out more than half the food because over half the food is not really adapted to the aesthetic requirements in place in supermarkets. The supermarket wants an apple this size, this color, etc., etc. And 50% of apples or oranges don't look that nice, so they are left to rot. Now, this young man, after studying in Harvard and after studying market issues, he said to farmers, don't leave them to rot. They don't even harvest the fruit because it's expensive to harvest. So they just leave it there. And well, it's good because it's a nutrient. So this young man says, I'll buy these oranges or apples or whatever, which are not perfect in shape, but which is perfectly safe to eat. And he buys them at whatever price, 90% less, and he sells it at 50% prices in popular food halls. So the apple is healthy, but it doesn't look as beautiful, or the pear is perfectly healthy, but it doesn't look as nice. And you wonder, why are you a company and not a foundation? And he says, well, because if I want to be sustainable, I have to build a company, because a foundation, you can't ask a person to go on a Saturday at 11 at night to a food hall to make sure that breakfast is prepared for the following morning, because it's a volunteer. And maybe the volunteer is happy to volunteer, but on her terms. But an employee will go wherever they're told to go at whatever time they're told to go. So this is definitely a very important part of what we're looking at, that's social innovation. Now, how can we increase innovation in these countries? Well, I think that there are a number of things that we need to do. Let me share some thoughts with you. Let me let you know what I've seen and what I discuss in this book that I'm saying I will launch in Madrid next week. So the first challenge in many countries, especially in emerging countries, is to build a culture of innovation. We need to glorify people as yourselves. Why? Because in many countries, we look at influencers or soccer players, but if you ask a young man or woman aged 15, in 15 years' time, what do you want to be? Well, they're not going to say, I want to be the inventor of a new device that is going to do something with fossil fuels and turn fossil fuels into something else. Why? Well, because we in the media don't address these issues, and because in our culture we don't glorify this. So we need to build a culture, create a culture that truly, truly admires innovators. Now, how does this happen? Well, very basically, what you are doing tonight, by rewarding innovators. Awards, sizable awards. Awards that are known. Awards that have a purpose. They all have a purpose. We were talking about this last night over dinner. Many of the most important innovative ideas that we live with now are the result of awards. Charles Lindbergh flew over the ocean because there was an award at stake, 1927. An award. An owner of a hotel chain said, whoever flies from New York to Paris wins the award. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of aviators attempted it. Many died, and Lindbergh was successful. And back in 1795, Napoleon, you know, the tins of tuna you buy in a supermarket? Well, Napoleon offered an award to whoever came up with an idea to conserve foodstuffs when his army was going to cross the Alps. Another challenge, we need to build a culture of tolerance to failure. We in Latin America, I'm not sure how things are in Spain, I'm not sure how things are in your respective countries, but in Latin America, we are failure averse. We laugh at those who fail. We stigmatize. We point our finger. Oh, boo-hoo. He tried to do this or that and wasn't successful. This is not what happens in innovative cultures. I was truly, truly impressed when I went to Silicon Valley. I was really impressed when I talked to young people who boast about their failures. And I remember once, one of the first times I visited, I was at a cocktail party. It was a tech company, and there were a number of young people there, innovators, like yourselves. And I asked one of them, we were just chit-chatting, and I asked him, what do you do? And he said, well, I've launched a startup. He says, I've had 5 startups. I haven't been successful. I failed 5 times. But this time around, I'm going to be successful. Now, in Latin America, nobody would confess, I botched the 5 previous startups. No, that's something to be ashamed of. Well, this is something that we need to fight, and we can fight it. I know that it's possible because I've just seen it in India. As part of the research that I had to do, I actually visited the schools of happiness in India. When they talked about that, I thought, what? This is so foolish. But then I went and I saw, and I was struck. Because in New Delhi, they have mandatory classes of happiness, 1 hour every day in the morning. And 1 day a week, one day a week is to teach children to tolerate failure. How do they do it? Well, it's not the teachers standing and pointing a finger and saying, you need to do this and that. No, they look at famous cases that are familiar to the children. So Messi, for instance. Messi arrived in Qatar, 36 parties, successful. He plays Qatar, and what happened? Well, it was terrible. with all due respect to Saudi Arabia. And that was terrible. In Argentina, people were wearing widow's weeds and probably coached by the technical director, because athletes have to learn to tolerate failure right from the get-go, much before executives must. And he said something which was very obvious. He said, this was a terrible, terrible result for us. We were not successful. We failed, but we're a good team. We're a good team. It's over today. We're focusing on our next game, and we're going to win. We're going to continue. And they did win, and they won the World Cup. Now, what the teacher in India does is she tells the children about this. And she says, all right, children, talk to me about your most recent failure. So children say, oh, any size failure. It doesn't have to be a big or a small failure. Next Tuesday, I want a report, 800 words. How did you go about overcoming your most recent failure? Next week, more homework. Talk with your parents about examples of their failures and how they overcame them. So bottom line, at the end of the day, these children learn right from the beginning that even the persons whom they most admired have failed. And there is no success that is not the result of a long chain of failures. They're familiar with this ever since they're little. And this is what we need to learn how to do in our countries. And other days, by the way, so Mondays, they meditate. The teacher arrives. Children arrive in class, and they're loud, and they're jostling each other. It's a whirlwind of children. The teacher steps in and says, mindfulness. They all sit down, they close their eyes, and the teacher says, all right, now concentrate for 20 seconds on the noise you're surrounded with. Now, all of the children close their eyes and concentrate. And then the teacher says, now concentrate on your fingertips. And that's what the children do. Now, 5 minutes like this, 5 minutes into concentration, the children have calmed down. They are clearly focused on math or whatever. Now, it would be wonderful if we had had this kind of education when we were little. But these things can be taught, and they can be taught as of a very young age. And let me come to an end now, and I'm not going to reveal anything else because I would like it if you read my book, but another one of the challenges that I describe in the book, we need to create a culture of optimism. This exists in other parts of the world. We, in Latin America, we are pessimistic societies. If you think, well, maybe there's a good reason for that, but if you think about it, if you think about our more popular songs, not from now, not talking about current crises, but the lyrics are to cry for. Tango, one of the most famous tangos in Argentina, says it's Cambalache. The world is now and always was a terrible mess. In 1506 and in the year 2002. How sadder can it get? In Mexico, one of the most famous rancheras begins as follows. Life is worth nothing. Life is worth nothing. You begin by crying and you end in tears. I mean, please cheer up here already. And Mexicans, they sing it, you know, with a beer in their hand, and they laugh as they sing it. Even Brazilians, bossa nova, in theory, so happy, carnival, this, that, the other. What is the most famous Black Orpheus? Tristeza no tem fin, felicidade sim. So there is no end to sadness. So we're sad, whereas North Americans, well, they're incredibly optimistic. They're naive in their optimism. I mean, Louis Armstrong, what did he used to sing? What a wonderful world is what he sang. Black in the Depression, racial segregation, and his song said, "What a wonderful world." So our culture is a pessimistic one, and this is something we need to change. We need to become more optimistic. Optimism is a key to happiness. And happiness, in turn, is a key to progress. Progress to be achieved by companies and by societies and by countries. And I now have 5 minutes during which I'm going to share with you some of the ideas that I have come across when talking about optimism and the culture of optimism in this book that I'm launching next week. There's a fascinating report from the US Academy of Sciences. 71,000 persons have been involved in this, and the question was, who lives longer, optimists or those who are more negative? Optimists or pessimists? Optimists live 6 years longer than pessimists. This was over an 80-year period. Now, this report, this study, was criticized because some social scientists upheld that the sample, those 71,000, were not truly representative of society. There was an overrepresentation of whites and of young people, so it was criticized. So then Stanford University said, okay, another study then. This was even more interesting. And they studied the Sisters of the Congregation of Notre Dame. Now, this congregation in the United States for over 100 years asked novices who entered the convent, they asked them to write a brief essay as to why they wanted to join the order. Well, some of the novices who were pessimistic said, I want to become a nun because the world is terrible. I want to come here and be wrapped by peace and be ensconced in happiness. Those were the pessimists. And the optimistic novices wrote an essay saying, I want to be a nun because it's a wonderful world, and here I'm going to find people who think just as I do, and we will find God and we will be happy. Well, 100 years later, Stanford University researchers looked at those essays and they separated the optimistic from the pessimistic essay writers. And what's really interesting is that all of the nuns led exactly the same life. They got up at the same time, they prayed at the same time, they ate the same thing at the same time, they went to sleep at the same time. So there was no possibility of any kind of an error in the sample. Well, as it turns out, optimistic nuns lived 10 years more than pessimistic nuns. Other studies involving companies show us that optimistic employees are happier, more creative, more innovative. So it's exactly the contrary of what many people believe. Many people believe that the harder we work, the harder we strive, the more success we achieve, the happier we will be. And that's not the case. The happier we are, the better we feel. The more optimistic we are, we will devote more energy to get up in the morning full of ideas, full of vim, with a desire to work enthusiastically, be more creative, be more innovative. It is exactly the contrary. Optimism leads to happiness, and not the other way around. There's another study. This is 225, so it's a mega study. This is the University of California, and this is my final thought. They discovered that optimism leads to happiness, and happiness allows for what I recently said, more energy, more creativity. In other words, it leads people to being more productive and more innovative, more creative, however we want to say it. And what's really interesting is that you can learn to be optimistic. It's like a muscle. You can exercise it, just as you can exercise your biceps. There are very many things that can be done to incentivize a culture of optimism in collective terms. a thought, an optimistic thought, in personal terms as well. The best known, which all psychologists refer to, is as easy as thinking about 3 good things that happened in the world today. Every night, those 3 thoughts. Why? Well, because we, human beings, well, back in the day, when we were living in caves, we had a catastrophic gene. 100,000 years ago, we were worried about a lion coming at night and eating us. So we always have these negative thoughts, these catastrophic thoughts, and that can be brought to balance. As I said, as if it were your muscle working it out. You exercise the muscles of the brain. You think about 3 good things, 3 good things that have happened to us every day. Or with thankfulness exercises, thanking 1, 2, or 3 persons every day, thanking them for whatever they have done to create a culture of optimism. And optimism, I repeat, is good. Fundamentally, a culture of optimism is going to be essential for you in your companies. In your companies now, in your future companies, you and all of those who are beginning now to participate in the entrepreneurial world. You've heard this joke, I think, the story of 2 English executives who were sent to Africa looking for business opportunities to sell shoes. Some of you must have heard it because I shared this last night. Back in 1900, 2 shoe manufacturers from the UK sent an executive to Africa. Why? Well, to see whether there was room for growth there. So one of the executives arrives in Africa, takes a look, goes to the post office and sends a telegram back home saying, "Bad news. Everybody's barefoot here. I'm coming back home. Next week, I'll be in London." And the other executive sees exactly the same, sends a telegram back home saying, "Fantastic news. Everyone's barefoot here. This is an incredible business opportunity for us." So, imagine who achieved the better results. So, in the 37 seconds I have left, let me just say that the world is a crazy place. In some countries, we see higher degrees of craziness than elsewhere, but we need to continue to be optimistic. We need a culture of optimism, because optimism is what will make us more energetic, creative, tolerant, and we will be able to withstand the blows of failure. And, of course, above all, it makes us happier. Thank you very much.
Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you,
Yo,
Andres. Well, I am going to try and follow your example. So, first of all, gratitude. Thank you very much for being with us. And thank you very much to Andres Oppenheimer. And so we will open a short Q&A session in case anybody wants to ask anything of Andres. Raise your hands and we can give you a mic so that you can ask anything you like. Yes. Go ahead, please. Hello, good afternoon. Thank you very much for this talk. I would like to ask you, after having interviewed so many personalities who are experts in innovation and entrepreneurship, I wanted to ask you whether in the interview you can see beyond what those people say, and what characteristics do all of these entrepreneurs share, if you had to mention one thing? Well, I would say that all of them, without any exception, I would say, all of them are people like you. They believe in what they do. From the most successful ones to the ones who are just beginning, all of them believe in what they do. And to be honest, this is not so strange, is it, for some of them to do well? Because if you like what you do, if you believe in what you do, you're going to work more enthusiastically. Nobody ever told me, well, even those who are not social innovators. Last week I invited, in that segment, Gaston Terratuta, who's somebody who did not make a social innovation. What he did was he used to work for a company in Miami that sold publicity for Twitter, Facebook, and all the social media in Latin America. And one day he was called by his boss, and the boss told him, "I've got some bad news for you because we're going to close the office because there's going to be a reshuffling process." And so, he was, but if you like, you can still send advertising by yourself. And he turned a piece of bad news into a piece of excellent news because he believed in what he was doing. So what did he do? He started selling advertising for social media in countries where none of these technological companies had time or, the interest in establishing an office, because the regulatory red tape is so complex in some countries and the market is so small at a global level for these large companies as compared with the US or the German market that, they couldn't bother. So they started, so he kept on doing what he used to do, but for himself. And he started selling advertising in Guatemala and places like that. And to cut a long story short, his company now is valued. Well, Sony wanted to buy his company 15 years ago. And he met somebody in the elevator as he was going to the Sony office to sell his company to Sony. And then, he was in the elevator and he was telling this person, "I'm going to Sony to sell my company." This person said, "Why on earth are you going to sell your company? You're only 35 years old. Do you like what you do?" "Of course I like what you do. I love what I do." And so he changed his mind in the elevator. He decided not to sell the company to Sony. And then, he sold the company off 15 years later for a lot more money. So from innovators who do a lot of social innovations to other people who do not, people who just sell advertising in this case, but all of them passionately believe in what they do. They like what they do, and that is their purpose in life. So I think that the common denominator of everybody, of all of these innovators, is to be in love with their project. I think that our entrepreneurs are all in love with their projects. Anybody else wants to ask a question? Andres, in Latin America, Latin America is going through a difficult financial and economic moment. So what do you tell entrepreneurs in that region about the possibility of raising capital? What is the optimistic message you can convey to them to raise capital in the current context? Well, today it's a lot more difficult than 4 years ago, obviously. But it is possible because, you have seen it. There are awards, there are venture capital companies that are always on the lookout for new ideas. I think, and there's also an ecosystem of entrepreneurs in Latin America that is really powerful, and they help each other very much. I'm impressed, really. I'm impressed when I am at CNN with my program. Some of them even recommend their competitors to me. They said, "Look, I'm doing this, but there's somebody in Peru who's doing something very interesting too." So there's an ecosystem of people who help each other because they realize that, the secret is to have a win-win situation. Things are more difficult than they were 4 years ago, but new innovators keep emerging with new ideas, and more innovators are bound to crop up in the future. And to go back to the initial case of this man who went to the bank and couldn't open an account because of the red tape, we have so many problems in the region that for each problem there's probably a technological solution. So there's huge opportunities, precisely because there's so many problems. A footnote. What is the name of your book? Well, that's a very pertinent question. It's called How to Get Out of the Well. And the book is, the reason why I wrote the book is that even if all my books are on politics and the economy and innovation, I was very much struck by what is happening in the world, and particularly Latin America in 2018 and 2019, when Chile, which was the fastest growing country in the region, had a social outburst, and then Peru had a social riot, had many social riots, and Colombia followed suit, and then in Northern Africa also, they also had the same situation in the Arab Spring, when Tunisia, which was the most stable country in the region, started with the riots. So, and one of the persons I interviewed was telling me that this is a worldwide phenomenon. This company conducts surveys, and there's more and more people that have cars, tablets, TV sets, but year in, year out, people are less and less happy. So what I did was go to the happiest countries in the world and see what they're doing and what we can copy from them to increase our social and individual happiness. And one of the many things I saw was, for example, the example I mentioned before, the happiness schools in India. And of course, there's many other things I saw which were spectacular. For example, how data mining and technology can help us increase our happiness. And let me give you an example that I also mentioned last night. In Great Britain, the government normally asks, they ask citizens every year how happy they are, and they've got to grade their happiness on a scale. And normally people say 5, 6, 7, and in that way they can detect pockets of unhappiness. So they may detect that in Madrid, for example, or in London, in a certain street there is a big pocket of happiness. They sell a social worker to see what is going on, and perhaps in that area there was a factory, the factory closed down, young people left, only elderly people remain, all of them are depressed, and that is a big pocket of unhappiness. So they don't, of course, launch a big national policy for this. What they do is they ask the people who stay in those pockets of unhappiness what their hobbies are, what they like, and they create a chess club, for example, in the neighborhood high school, a choir, community activities, things that are really very mundane, but that can increase people's happiness. They are very mundane, ridiculously mundane, but none of our countries are doing anything about them. Thank you very much, Andres. It's been a huge pleasure to listen to you and to learn so much from you. And now we are going to enjoy your book. Thank you. Well, I dare say that there's going to be a pocket of happiness in this room too, because we're approaching the moment when we will all learn the name of the winner of our Global eAward 2023. But before that, we're going to show a video from one of the most important,
Good evening. I want to send a very special greeting to all the participants in this ceremony. Through the NTT Data Foundation eAwards, we are bringing our values and our company's purpose to life, developing innovative and sustainable solutions that change people's lives. I would like to thank everyone who has supported these awards. To NTT Data colleagues and to the friends of the foundation at the company who have participated as organizers, mentors, evaluators, or judges. And of course, to the entrepreneurs who are creating solutions to help us achieve the foundation's primary goal, putting technology at the service of society. We believe these activities continue to make a better world. Thank you very much.
Muchísimas gracias a Cas Nisihata por...
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for these words, this award. And the time now has come. Thank you. And we now are going to be, for the 22nd consecutive time, we will be giving this Global eAward. This year, 100,000 euros for the winner and specialized mentoring. And with us now, the President, Roberto Dagnino. Please, thank you. All right. The winner of this award is Colombia. Congratulations. A round of applause. Well, thank you very much, because you have helped out to reduce the number of deaths due to breast cancer. Thank you. We have an objective, and we definitely are going to be successful. We have done everything we can. Thank you very much for the acknowledgement. Thank you. You, all of you, are spectacular. All of us together will change the world. And now I'm going to run and call my mom and tell her that the international winner is her daughter. Thank you. Please, before you call your relatives, I'm going to ask all of the entrepreneurs, because they will help us with our future. Please join us for a family picture. Eduardo, Sarah, please. Roberto, please don't go anywhere. Please. And please, Andres Oppenheimer, join us for the family picture. Thank you. Thank you. Well-deserved round of applause. Please.
Aprovechéis el momento para hacer la foto con...
All right, please This is a wonderful image. A moment to remember. Thank you. I think that what we can do now is toast talent, toast the future, toast entrepreneurs, toast to the awards. All of us together are going to raise our cups across the hall here. We will be able to celebrate this wonderful talent. The entrepreneurs, the Global eAwards 2023. Congratulations.